Welcome back to the Restaurant Growth Show podcast. Today we have the privilege of hosting restaurant author, speaker, marketer, coach. He is also the CEO of America's Best Restaurants and is on a path to help 50,000 independent restaurants find more frequent customers and double their sales. Everyone put your hands together for Mr. Matt Plapp. Matt, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing amazing. I appreciate that great intro.
So originally, I got to be honest with you. I came across your content. I came across the Red Bull post, and that one seems to be gaining a little bit of steam on TikTok. It also seems to be ruffling a few feathers online. Maybe you could talk a little bit about what the post is about and why there's a little bit of pushback.
Yeah, so I speak pretty regularly. And I was in Las Vegas the week after Thanksgiving speaking to, 25 or so restaurant owners, all independent. And my topic of conversation has been the same for a long time. You need to have attention. Your restaurant needs attention to grow. The more people that know you, like you, trust you, that think about you on the regular will come eat your food. The food to me is a byproduct. I expect great service at restaurants nowadays. I don't think about restaurants that I don't like. So for me, it's all top of mind awareness. And one of my biggest pet peeves is the fact that restaurants and small businesses in general, because it's car dealers, it's everybody, have been given access to free mediums: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, Snapchat, hell, MySpace, Twitter. You have a free medium that nobody had 20 years ago. And what do? They turn around and turn it into a radio station that it's every time they get on it, it's buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff. And in that presentation, I used a popular analogy that I've seen lately. And nothing's original on the internet. And I've always admired brands like Red Bull that are using the platforms a little differently. It's not about come buy this new flavor of Red Bull. It's about why do you use it? Or you're just keeping attention. It's like when I was at a restaurant last night with my wife, they had Chive TV on. And it's all these crazy BMX and skateboarder and fun stuff. A lot of the stuff you would see on Red Bull's channel. And Red Bull's top of mind for me because we have a Red Bull fridge in our office. At our headquarters here, we got about 40 or so at this office on the East Coast. And we have a Red Bull fridge here. So it probably get targeted with Red Bull stuff because I'm drinking one every damn day. Who knows what that's going to do to me in 20 years? We'll find out. But the speech that I gave there, one thing that wasn't on camera, which I think you'd appreciate, was I was the speaker after lunch. And so we went out and we had 120 Red Bulls bought and we put them in everybody's seat. And so when I got up on stage, I said, hey, you guys are probably tired like me. You probably ate way too much food. There's a Red Bull there. There's sugar-free. There's regular. Grab one. Get energized. Let's talk about your restaurant, how you're going to get attention. Our presentation. About 40 minutes into it, I said, as an example, because I was talking about leveraging social media correctly, I said, here's Red Bull. They're not talking about Red Bull every 5 seconds. People know what it is. Well, people know what Joe's Pizza Shop, or like in my neighborhood, Barley Coins. Everybody knows it's the first place in our area to have buffalo wings in 1982. We know you have wings. I don't need to see wings every day. And what people don't realize is the minute you lose engagement, you start to lose the algorithm. And I use Papa John's. The slide that was after Red Bull was Papa John's. At the time, 6.7 million fans, and their average post gets 200 engagements. Game over. And so that was the messaging was, hey, there's nothing wrong with posting your food occasionally, but look at your community and relate to them for the reason they're on that particular platform, and it's not your food.
I agree with you to a certain extent, but also I'm on the side as some of your commenters on this Red Bull post coming to you, and they're saying, listen, this is a restaurant. I own a restaurant. I'm selling my food. This is what I've based my business on. But you're crazy. Why would I talk about anything other than my food?
Yep. And that's a valid comment, but here's the answer I give you is my wife and I didn't go to Drake's last night because of their food, their service, their atmosphere. They have a really cool fireplace, which oddly enough was broken last night, which I don't know how a wood burning fireplace gets broke, but it was. We go there because we're looking for a place to hang out. And Drake's was top of mind because I drove by it to go to a place called BB Bop for lunch. And I'm like, oh, Drake sounds good. Let's go there tonight. The goal of your restaurant is to have awareness. And if you're Papa John's and you've got 6 million people that you could talk to on a daily basis, and you're only getting the attention of 200 of them to engage, that's enough proof that talking about your food every day isn't working. You want to be on people's timelines. And one of the popular comments in there was, I go to Facebook all the time to look at food specials. Well, you're an anomaly. because the majority of people that open up Facebook or Instagram, including me and you, we open it up with the intent to engage in content that's funny, that's relatable to us. My daughter's a college cheerleader. The championships are in a month. I saw a post yesterday from another college. I watched it. I looked at it. It was relatable to me. And the problem with restaurants not doing that is that it's not that it's bad from a standpoint of your restaurant. It's bad that you're losing the attention, because if your posts do not show up organically in people's timelines, you don't get seen. If you don't get seen, if they don't stop and engage, you go away completely. And I see it all the time. Next year, we'll work with maybe some neighborhood of 3,500 restaurants in the country. So my theories aren't based off of one or two. It's based off of hundreds. It's based off of tens of thousands of campaigns. And when I see restaurants leveraging the platform incorrectly, it pains me. Avery from Little Italy Restaurant in Groveport, Ohio, is a client of ours. He's the first year and 2 months he was a client, never took our advice, because we have multiple departments. And one department is acquisition, one department's engagement. And some clients will take the advice. Like, I'm going to the gym tonight. I don't take the nutrition advice of the coach. I eat more pizza than I probably should, but I work out 7 days a week. Well, Avery was a client of ours that took only our acquisition advice, and we grew a great database, text, email, birthday. We drove a lot of sales. And I kept saying, dude, there's so much more opportunity for you to leverage Facebook. That's where your audience is at. And your average post, you've got 8,000 fans. Your average post is getting 5 to 10 comments, likes, and shares. That is all that you need to show you that nobody gives a shit. And he's like, okay, what do you want us to do? I want you to get involved in the community. I want you to highlight your student athletes in your restaurant. The girl that was valedictorian last month, talk about that. She's the number one kid in high school. I want you to go down the street to the sign shop that just did brand new signs for your location and talk about that business. I want you to go to the band director and talk about their fundraising efforts. Use your platform to relate to your audience a little differently. And I understand that restaurants aren't in the world of doing that, but it's simple. That's what Facebook wants. Live videos. 2015, I was doing seminars for restaurants on how to use live video, and nobody did it. And every time I did it for this brand, Hofbrauhaus, Newport, Pittsburgh, and Columbus, 10,000 people viewing the video in 24 hours. And so you've got to use the platform how they want you to use it. And Facebook only makes money when advertisers spend money. And advertisers spend money, the better their campaigns work. Well, if users log off the platform because they consistently just see crap they don't want to see, they're not going to have ad revenue. And so Facebook's algorithm is completely based off of showing you and I what we engage in consistently. We do not engage in food content all the time.
Yeah, I guess food doesn't respond back. It's funny because all of a sudden you transported me to the beginning of social media, the days of Brian Solis, Scott Stratton, and all of that. And the same principles, they still apply. And I think that the big difference that you can make it a big impact, have a dent in the universe, so to speak, with restaurants is that right now there is a bigger opportunity because of the pandemic. They finally paid attention to online, right? And somehow you taking me there is also like, okay, so I guess the human behavior is still the same. The algorithms shifted a little bit, but at the end of the day, it is the consumer that matters. The human element is going to be the same. So I'm with you on that, and I think that maybe even myself be a little guilty that there is a desperation. I think it's the same desperation that also the pandemic brought, where it's like I just want to move product, right?
Sell food,
yeah. And forget about that element of like, hey, the theater across the street, see if you can get an interview about them, or go interview people about what they thought. And I think that is content that people would be like, oh, let's see what people say about that show, right?
Here's one of the ways I look at it is a radio station. My background's radio. I've been in digital marketing since 1999. That's when I built my first website. And I'll be the first to tell you, from 99 to 07, I had no clue that I was on to something. Like, one of my business coaches, Gary, calls me the first Gary V. He jokes about that. He's like, Matt, he knows my background. He's like, you were doing the stuff Gary V talks about way before Gary V. I'm like, I had no clue. It was an accident. And one thing when I was I relate back to radio is that if I were to say, Gordon, I'm going to give you this radio station. It's already been cultivated. There's 100,000 people a week that tune into it. They tune into it for the talk in the morning. They tune in for the sports updates, the weather, the traffic, and the top 40 music. And you get on there and you turn it into a commercial every 30 seconds about the radio station for 24 hours. You're not going to have very many people listening to the radio station. Facebook has given every business an opportunity to create an audience on their platform. Their job's to make sure that audience stays on there. And that's what's happened with most small businesses, is they think it's their way of running an advertising campaign 24/7. And my vision for our clients is, yes, you need to have that sexy cheese pull. You need to have that time lapse of you making food. You need to have your chef on there talking about the food pairing. But if you want it to be seen, you need to have the algorithm on your side. And the algorithm gets on your side when people engage in your content. And that's a huge element for me. That's why we have a guide that we have restaurants that use, that it's 52 weeks. And every week there's an excuse of how to talk about something other than your restaurant. One of them in there is talk about your community, talk about your team, talk about your food. You know, find a way to relate. The example I use all the time is the high school near my house, Ryle High School. And people say, oh, lightning only strikes once, Matt. They had two girls, Maddie Shear and Lauren Swartz, who played number one growing up their entire career. Elementary school, middle school, high school, state champions in Kentucky, the number one and number two basketball players in the state of Kentucky, freaks of nature, high school athletes. They went to Washington and Oregon, and that was on ESPN streaming. This was January of 2022. Nobody covered it in our area. Nobody. Like the local restaurant that's across the street could have easily had, come to the restaurant, wear blue for Team Lauren, wear green for Team Maddie. We're going to have a party. We got the coach here. We're going to do a live stream with the coach. We're going to interview the parents afterwards. They could have done something to highlight the community and these two young ladies. And instead their post that day was their pizza deal, their beer deal. And so I use that example. Like, oh, it's an extreme example, Matt. How often is that going to happen in the community? I said, okay. December of the same year, the Ryle High School band was one of 8 bands picked to go to the Pearl Harbor Day Parade in Hawaii. One of 8 in the United States. Strong's Brick Oven Pizzas across the street. All the owner of Strong's would have had to do is walk across the street, have a cell phone, do a live video with the band director. What are y'all doing? Where are you going? How'd you get this honor? This is exciting. We can't wait to see you off. By the way, how can we donate to your cause? This has to be expensive. And look at who's going to share that now. All the moms, the dads, the kids, the band director. And now your pizza restaurant is in the conversation of the band in the community. And that night they go, oh, what sounds good? Strong's. So my whole reason for it is use the platform how it's meant to be used. And you have to take your food and you have to balance it with content that keeps you in the conversation.
Conscious marketing. We have a podcast about that. It can be really powerful, no matter the size. I think that most people consider it to be something extremely big, something of big brands, but I think that there is definitely a scalability. And so I like to hear
it's huge for local. I mean, look at a local restaurant and you got like Ryle High School, where I'm talking about, is 2,600 students across the street from this restaurant. All they need is a few hundred of those parents to, on a weekly basis, go, sounds good for dinner. And all you need to do is be top of mind. Well, if your social media posts aren't getting seen, you're not top of mind. That's your number one media. That's the number one place right now restaurants are marketing, is Facebook and Instagram. And like I said in the comments, I'm not saying anything you can't look up. Go to 20 restaurants within 30 minutes of where you live. Look at their Facebook posts and relate that engagement to their following. I guarantee you it's under 1%.
I totally appreciate that. But what do you say to the independent operator who says, Matt, I'm not a digital marketer. I own a restaurant. I don't have the time to go out and create all of these events that you're talking about. What do I do next?
Close your business. I mean, then don't complain, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a one location, Matt Plapp, this company, which is now 56 full-time employees and a multi-million-dollar company, was me and Ashley Mullins 10 years ago. I could have done the exact same thing. I've got plenty of my friends who are digital marketing agencies and consultants that are experts that chose to stay one-person operations and work from their basement of their house. I chose to go to a different level. That took me getting uncomfortable and doing a lot of things and traveling and speaking and taking a lot of financial risks. If you're a restaurant owner that's complaining about your sales, do something about it. Get on YouTube, look up there's 10,000 probably plus videos on how to do restaurant marketing on YouTube. They're probably all better than what that restaurant owner already knows. Or worst case scenario, invest. I've got a guy sitting across the table from me right now, Peter. He films me for a living. He travels with me. I've got a marketing director that's his boss that does a lot of the same stuff. I invest $250,000 a year into people to help me do things I can't do. And so that restaurant, same thing. Go find I guarantee there's a high school kid that's in media production or something at that high school that you can go to the high school and say, I'm looking for somebody who wants to eat free, get resume experience, and lay the groundwork for a career after high school or college. Is there anybody that could come and help me chronicle the restaurant journey and highlight our community? So there's so many opportunities to get somebody to help you with paid, somebody to help you as an intern. I guarantee the restaurants have somebody that's working there right now that understand how to do this. I've got a picture. I don't think I have it in here anymore. I've got a picture we use on marketing. I have a box under my desk I used to. That was a picture that we used. My daughter made with Snapchat in the 7th grade. That was the photo we used for our company, for me, and a lot of marketing. And it was comical because I'm like, this is my daughter in 7th grade that made this really cool picture on her phone. So if she can do it, I'm confident that restaurant owner probably has that same page inside her restaurant that can help them do the same stuff.
I'm really glad you brought up Gary Vee. And I think it was his book, Jab, 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 Right Hook in the mid 2010s. And that had to do with provide value, jab, jab, jab 10 times. Provide value to the audience before you're asked, before you post your food or before you post your promotion, right? And I think that's in line with what you're talking about is provide that value, provide that entertainment, that, you know, attention grabbing post, and do that 10 times before you ask for something from the audience.
Are you guys married? You have a spouse, significant other?
Significant other, yep.
I'm same here. Imagine if I went home every night, said, "Oh man, I'm great, Christy. I'm awesome. I did a podcast today. I crushed it. The gym, I dominated. Some lady at the mall looked at my butt. Some client said I was awesome." If it was me every night, that marriage wouldn't be here 28 years later. And that is what I look at with restaurants. You're getting into a relationship with your clients. We have an acronym we use, ABR, attract, build, retain. The build is build customer loyalty. That starts with me knowing your name. That if I walk by you in a restaurant and I want to build a relationship that develops into loyalty, I have to know your name. I probably need to have your phone number and your email to create that relationship. If I want you to be loyal, I should give you something for your birthday. Well, in order to get to that part, you got to have a relationship. And I feel like most businesses right now are so consumed with selling something today versus putting in the groundwork to sell something in 2 years. And I learned this myself last year. We spend on paid digital ads for our company. We'll spend some months 75 to 100 grand. And I'll never forget this. Last year, they called it, you know who Grant Cardone is? So my team said I had morphed into a version of Grant Cardone and Alex Hormozi, because Alex Hormozi, I'm sure you've seen him. I've known Alex for years because we worked with Gym Launch. I owned a gym for 10 years, a CrossFit gym, and we were a client of Gym Launch early on in his career. So I followed Alex for a while. He's a freaking genius. I didn't know he was as much of a genius as he is today back then. I wish I would have maybe laid some more ground roots in. But my team had told me last year I had become this mix of Hormozi and Cardone. I was so worried about now. And one of my team members came to me. I have 13 salespeople. They said, "Matt," because I'm director of sales as well, "you are stepping on people's throats every week. At some point, the gas is going to run out." And that's why our sales went up and down, because there's only like you and I have certain gas pedal for our businesses. The employees don't. And so I had to evaluate. And one of my coaches said to me, "Matt, how long are you in this for?" I said, "I've got a vision 2030. Okay. So 2030 is 7-8 years away. Why don't you put strategies and marketing in place now that's going to help you in 2030? Because right now you're burning your team out and you're trying to sell something now. And so we tweaked some things. I tweaked my attitude. I tweaked my leadership. I tweaked our ads. And it was comical because I went away from worrying about selling something today with our ads to educating for tomorrow. Our conversion of our ads the last 6 months is 3x what it was last year. And we rarely talk about buying stuff. And it's because we've used brand to indoctrinate people into our world, and it lifts our conversion. So when you look at that from a restaurant standpoint, is the higher I think of your restaurant in my world, man, you support my kids' basketball team. You did an interview with the Chamber of Commerce the other day. You're involved in the different parades locally. And I see you in those lights, your brand becomes elevated. And I think of you differently, so that when you do ask me to buy pizza, I'm like, hell yeah.
Exactly.
The famous paying it forward.
I think that we're talking about education here, right? Because there's a difference between brand and advertising. And the problem here, though, Matt, I think is that if you're to ask 100 operators what brand means or what it means to them, you're likely going to get 100 different answers, and probably 99 of them are going to be incorrect. And so it's an education about what does brand, what does positioning mean locally in your community, and what that looks like online. Can you elaborate a little bit more on how you perceive brand to be and what it means to a restaurateur?
And I think there's probably not a right answer either. You know, all those 100 answers aren't going to be wrong. They all combine to it. The other day, one of my team members, Shaheen, came to me and we were talking about our messaging and position. And Shaheen, for perspective, 28-year restaurant owner, retired last June. For 7 years was a client of our company. That's how I know. And when he retired, I'm like, dude, I got to have you on the team. I know you're not hanging it up and going to go play golf all the time and watch soccer. And he's like, no, I'm definitely going to do some. And so I cyber stalked him for 12 months because he took a year off and traveled, and he's here now. And he came to me me and he said, Matt, our higher level coaching we do, where I see the value proposition that is built for independents that want to become an institution in their community. I was like, damn, that's pretty deep. I'm like, go deeper for it. What do you mean? He's like, Matt, that's if you want to think of brand at the highest level, it is being the place that is thought of for everything in your area. I mean, look at McDonald's. If I say cheeseburger, you probably think McDonald's. That's because they have spent so much money. They have so many signs. They've built a brand based on that we think of. It's quick, it's easy, it's fast, it's not bad. Get it on the go. So when I think of what Shaheen said about building an institution, you've got restaurants that look at things differently. Some people are just in it to sell food, pay the bills. That's how they do it. Some people want to build something that means a much bigger thing. So when I look at brand, it's, do people think of you when they're hungry? If you tell me, Matt, favorite pizza, Strong's. Favorite buffalo wing, Barleycorns. Favorite steak, Walt's. Ice cream, Graders. Those are brands that I have a strong affection for based on a long history with them. And a lot of restaurants never get to that point because they're so concerned with advertising to sell food tomorrow versus marketing to sell food in 2 years. And I get that, because I've got payroll too. I mean, my payroll comes out tomorrow. It's a big number. And I know a lot of these restaurants have that same thing. You're like, first of the month, every month, our sales go down. I'm like, one of my sales guys is like, why? I'm like, because credit card processing comes out, rent's due, there's health insurance hits. Your bills at your small business are huge the first of the month. So you're worrying about driving somebody in the door tomorrow so that you can cover the overhead. And I think that's where brand gets shortcutted, is that the minute you have to focus on sales all the time, you're shortcutting your success in the long term, which means you're cutting your opportunity to brand your business. And most businesses nowadays, if you think about it, very few are building brand at a local level because they're so desperate for what's coming tomorrow. And I saw a TikTok video the other day, one of my team shared with me, that was a young lady talking about the difference between marketing and advertising. And I'm a former advertising guy in radio, and I used to always joke, advertising's easy. You give Matt Plapp a check, I give it to the radio station, we write some bullshit commercial, we put it on the radio. Not very hard. Marketing is different. You know, you come up with, who am I targeting with this commercial? I'm going to do a commercial, I'm going to do door hangers, I'm going to do a Facebook campaign, I'm going to do an email, I'm going to do a text. What colors? What's the call to action? Where are they going to land? What are we looking for? Like, marketing is much deeper than advertising, but unfortunately, there's a blur between it. Most small businesses, and this just isn't restaurants, this is all small businesses, they look at it as the same thing. And they look at, I heard somebody the other day tell me, I've never done paid advertising in my life. I never would. I'm like, so you're telling me Procter & Gamble, Coke, and McDonald's are morons? Because last time I checked, they're doing pretty well and they advertise every day.
I have a question. So I think this moves or goes into what I suspect is one of the things that you do with restaurateurs, especially the independents, which is, okay, so we're talking about, there's a lot of fears, there's a lot of pressure, they're desperate, right? There is one of the biggest pressures they have is third party, right? And they see those margins get slimmer and slimmer and slimmer, and you're going to tell them, be patient. And they're like, I don't know if I can make it in 6 months if I'm patient. How do you coach a restaurateur, a restaurant owner, into having a transformation and also giving them the peace of mind that maybe that's not the case? Is it technology? Is it purely human, ontological coaching? How do you get them there?
That's a tough question. That's a loaded one too, because it is a tough grind. Small business, like I honestly question my sanity probably once every couple of weeks. And I'll wake up, I'll be drinking some coffee, reading a book, and I'm like, man, why am I not just working for somebody? Why am I not a one-man operation like I was 15 years ago? Why did I choose to go this path? Business is hard. In my opinion, from what I've seen, running a mom and pop restaurant is probably the hardest one. The elements of it, the things that you're relying on, like me, I've got 56 people that work full time here. They're all professionals. They all carry themselves at a certain level. And there's a very good expectation of what's going to come out of it. A restaurant, you got 15-year-old here, you got a 25-year-old, you got a 40-year-old that's divorced with 3 kids and 3 different baby daddies and stresses and this and that. I mean, you got so many dynamics inside that building that you have to manage people at such a high level. So it's a hard business. And when we talk to restaurants, number one, we don't traditionally deal with restaurants that are financially distressed, because I tell them, if you're financially stressed, the last thing you need to be doing is paying us to help you try to fix something short term. I refer them to a guy named David Scott Peters, who's got a book called The Restaurant Prosperity Formula, because if they're financially stressed, they've structured their costs what they charge, all those things incorrectly. Marketing is not fixing that. And the last thing you need to do is spend more money there. That sometimes when you're a certain level restaurant, you got to find that money from somewhere. And a lot of times it's called sweat equity. It's you running and gunning. It's like I grew this business. I didn't spend 75 to 100K. Like I would have puked 7-8 years ago if you told me I was going to spend 75 or 100K a month on Facebook ads. I said, you guys are crazy. Because back then it was Matt Plapp going from conference to conference to conference, speaking, trade show booths, knocking on doors, cold calling restaurants. It's the complete opposite because we've built a brand and we've built a team. But when I look at a restaurant that's struggling and trying to find that answer, number one, if they're not financially sound, I want them to be in the hands of a restaurant consultant because I have no clue how to run a restaurant. I've worked in a restaurant as an experiment a few years ago as a client of ours. I wanted to see what it was like to make somebody's pizza, to hand it to them, to ring them out, to run the process. If they're not stressed and they're a restaurant looking for advice, and then we start from the budget. What are your sales? How much of your sales are you spending on advertising and marketing? How much of your occupancy cost is going towards that? Because there are a lot of restaurants that are paying a premium to be where they're at, and that is marketing. And then at that point, we look and evaluate their customer acquisition because I look at third party as customer acquisition. I remember back in the days, one of our first clients that did Uber Eats a long time ago, it was like a cat and mouse game. I don't know if you remember this or not, but like they would go off your menu. You couldn't have separate menus for Uber Eats. And I remember a client of mine, we had 2 different websites. He's like, hey, this is my Uber Eats website because Uber Eats has to see that my prices are this. I inflated my prices 30% to take in consideration their cost. And then Uber found out, they were all mad at him. And I'm like, dude, what does it matter to you? Like this, my 21-year-old orders Uber Eats all the time. She don't care what the hell it costs. A simple blend smoothie that normally costs $7 is 18. Like that's on her, not the restaurant. But when you look at third party, it's an acquisition tool. And when I look with our clients, I'm like, hey, there's people that are only going to order from you on there. And so that is cash flow. And you don't ever expect to make money off it. If you can find a way to move them over, and that happened to me during the pandemic. I'll never forget this. One of the best examples I've seen of customer acquisition and conversion was a place called Max Pizza Pub. So our office during COVID was in downtown Cincinnati, and myself and Doug Smith, my COO, we continued to go to the office every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and every restaurant was closed. Nothing near. So the first couple of weeks, we're like bringing lunch, and then I don't know how to cook, and I don't really pack a good lunch. And I'm like, okay, I got to find something. So we get on Uber Eats, Max Pizza Pub, like, oh, their wings and pizza are fire. Order it. Bag comes. Open it up. Handwritten note. Hey, Matt, we appreciate your order. By the way, we deliver for free. Please order directly next time. Here's our phone number. Guess what I did every Wednesday for the next 3 months? I freaking ordered direct.
Exactly.
Right.
And so with like they say, there's many ways to skin a cat, which I have no clue where the hell that term comes from now that I think about it, but there's many ways to get things done. And so if you rely on things like Uber Eats and it's going to take your 30% margin, well, you know what? Mark it up 30%. I have restaurant clients of mine that do not do third party and kill it. I have restaurants that do a ton of third party and kill it. I'm sure it's able to be a successful tactic no matter what, but also understand that if you're not doing third party, like I told one of my friends the other day, he's not doing it and he's doing really well. You're still missing out on people that are never not going to order there. There are people that open up Uber Eats and go, what am I eating today? So you've got to find those, but it's marketing. I look at third party as marketing 101. It's customer acquisition. Once you get them in the system, how can you get them to where you want them to go?
Absolutely. It's a challenge for operators right now in converting third to first, but we're still in the early days of what that strategy looks like. And we're hoping operators figure it out and utilize resources like Matt Plapp. We're running a little bit short on time, but real quick, Matt, this is a restaurant technology podcast. Yep. Talk a little bit quickly about your tech stack. What are you using? What do you love? What's turning the wheels for you?
So I love technology. I saw a stat the other day about Domino's. I don't know if you know this or not, but from 2018, the second most profitable stock to own in the United States. And it was because in 2007, they said, we're a technology company, not a pizza company. And it's comical to see Domino's with Netflix, Amazon, and Tesla as those 4 of the top 6 stocks. So you've got to embrace technology. The 2 biggest things I love that happened with the pandemic were that consumers finally figured out what the hell a QR code was. And I'm blown away how many restaurants brought back their menus. I would have kept it digital and only used QR codes to drive traffic because you could change pricing. It's a lot easier. But also was online ordering. The number of people I was consulting with saying, why can't I not order food on your website, drive to your restaurant, pick it up and go home? Oh, we don't got that. I got this. Now they all got it. So we actually own a company called Repeat Returns. We acquired it this year. It's a 15-year technology company for restaurants. It's loyalty, rewards, email, an entire package. And one of the reasons we bought it was that for the last 15 years, we've been cobbling together a lot of stuff. And one of my biggest thing I would tell all restaurants, the best thing I've ever seen in marketing that's not being used is a feature called the comment growth tool on Facebook and Instagram. And I don't know if y'all know what it is or not, but we are actually, by January, we'll have this built into returns, but it's also in a product called Mini Chat, which is a really cool technology. What it does is it allows you to automate conversations in Messenger once people comment on your Facebook or Instagram posts. So let's say we got Christmas coming up. I've seen a bunch of posts about your favorite Christmas movie. So you want to capture data from people. So if somebody says, hey, post on your Facebook page, what's your favorite Christmas movie? What are you guys watching? Somebody comments on there, I'm watching Elf. Messenger pops up. Matt, thanks for your comment. By the way, we'd love to give you a free cookie next time you're in a free burger. Click here to get it. It's a great way to get people to take action. The number one thing I'll tell everybody is have technology in your restaurant, on your website, and in your social media that captures customer data. You need to be bribing customers to give you their information. Here's a book I keep on my desk by Hermosi, his second book, How to Make Offers People Feel Stupid Saying No to. So one of our clients we work with, a guy named Chris Chase, MST Pub and Grub in Tiffin, Ohio, had a client that left a 1-star review a year ago. 1-star review said, you took away seating. It's too crowded. I don't like the new menu prices. I'm not coming back. And he remembered it. All those restaurateurs remember that 1-star review. We ran a promotion for him this summer, doing some different acquisition. It was a free burger. 100% bring this in for a free burger. This gentleman saw the ad. Took him the ad. Chris said, I saw the guy in the restaurant. I knew who he was because I was so mad over the review because the guy had been here 100 times and I get a bad review one time. Guy walks in the restaurant. I walk up to him and say, hey, welcome back, brother. He's like, hey, man, I appreciate you giving us, us coming back. We got the free burger. We hadn't been in a while. The place is great. Love it. And then he eventually goes back. Chris has a good memory. He goes back to the review and comments, hey, thanks for coming in today. It was great to see you again. Within a day, that customer updated it to a 5-star review. Now, the reason I bring that up is Chris had technology, which we built for him, that allowed him to gather customer data with a VIP program, give that person a free burger who had already quit coming. The person came back for the free burger, now saw maybe his review was short-sighted a year ago. Now he's back to being a customer and he changed his review. So you've got to gather customer data inside your restaurant, on your website, and through social media. Don't forget customers that aren't spending money with you. Most restaurants say, oh, I gather customer data. I get it to my point of sale. Well, that's the people that are spending money with you. What about the Facebook looky-loo that hasn't come to your restaurant yet? Give them an excuse to say, here's my name, here's my phone number, here's my email, here's my birthday, here's my visit frequency. Oh, I've never been before. Great. Here's a bribe to walk in and give us a try.
Right.
Absolutely. It's all about generating that customer feedback loop and then iterating and targeting new segments. All really great advice, Matt. I can definitely see the Gary V comparison. I got a question for you. Are you planning on buying the Jets?
Planning on buying the Jets? No, I like pro sports that much. But saying, I actually saw an interview with him recently where I guess the podcast tried to joke about the Jets with Aaron Rodgers getting hurt the next day. He left the podcast. Then he logged back in and said, something to the effect of, hey, by the way, I get pretty emotional over certain things. And if I wasn't paid to be on here, I wouldn't have logged back in. Well, let's go to a next topic. And I was like, is he serious? Damn, you're that tied into sports. It suck every year. But
yeah,
I'm not buying
a dream.
I buy her Air Jordans.
There you go. A collector, I see. Yeah.
Yeah, I wear orange shoes, orange Jordans every day, and an orange shirt every day. And so people send me gifts. And so I've collected my fair share of stuff around Jordan and orange.
That's amazing. A bit of a sneakerhead. That's all the time we have for the show today. Matt, thank you so much. Now's your time to plug away. Where can restaurateurs connect with you? What's your platform of choice?
Yeah, so mattplapp.com is my website. americasbestrestaurants.com is the company. But find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. We're pretty open book.
TikTok too. That's where I found you.
Yep, TikTok.
Absolutely. Speaking of plugs, this podcast is sponsored by Dine Pricing, real-time restaurant profitability. Dine Pricing uses artificial intelligence to improve restaurant profitability by dynamically updating menus across digital channels like Uber Eats, DoorDash, and Grubhub. That is all the time we have for the show today. Thanks again, Matt.
Thank
It was
you.
amazing. Look forward to reaching out and hopefully have you on again in 2024. Until next week, say goodbye, Jose.
Say goodbye, Jose.
See you, Jose. See you, Gordon.
That's awesome.
See ya.
Thanks,
Have a
Matt.
good one.
Really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it, man. That was great.
Pleasure.
See ya.
Thank you.